Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of Comic Art Review. I'm Adam Rapp, and I'm joined with Sandy Plunkett. And today, we're going to be reviewing the legendary artwork of Al Williamson. The page we're going to be reviewing today can be seen here. It's an exciting Western that's a story of Bart Tannen and how he escaped people that were hunting him. The page originally appeared in Two Gun Kid in Atlas Comics in September of 1955 in issue 25. It was then reprinted by Pacific Comics in 1983 in an issue that documented the work of Al Williamson. So who is Al Williamson? Well, many people don't know, but his birth name was Alfonso Williamson, but he went by Al. He was born in 1931 and passed in 2010. He was originally born in New York City, but then immediately moved to Bogota, Colombia for about 12 years before coming back to the US. Later, he joined the Byrne Hogarth School, where he really learned his art and his trade and worked with many different artists, and then moved on to a lot of different comic book publishers. Some of the comic book publishers he worked with include a laundry list: EC, Gold Key, Harvey, Atlas, Standard, Marvel, etc., etc., etc. He's won dozens of awards, including the Harvey Award, the Eisner Award, the Inkwell, the Nova, and he's part of the Jack Kirby Hall of Fame. He has partnered and worked with some of the most famous artists out there, including Frazetta, Krenkel, Wood, Feldstein, Woodbridge, Wrightson, etc. And he even has a connection to our own Sandy Plunkett. When Al Williamson was invited to work on the Star Wars comic strip, he had Sandy help him on the first set of deliverables. While working side by side with Al, Sandy was presented with some artwork himself. Al's daughter gave Sandy this, a rendition of the Great Pumpkin, as well as what appears to be a Princess Leia. Now I'll turn it over to Sandy.
Okay, gang, this is Sandy. I really love this page, and I'm going to talk about why I do. It's a Western, and not everyone gets excited about Westerns, but if you look at it through the viewpoint of an artist, you can see that this is quite a beautiful page in how Williamson approached it in terms of composition, storytelling, but also inking, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on right now. It's well known that Alex Raymond was a big influence on Williamson. Okay, here we have a panel from a Flash Gordon story that Raymond did. Very elegant figures, very clean line. Here's another panel which has been excerpted from a larger page. You can tell here just how beautifully Raymond drew the human figure, and this is a big part of the influence that Raymond had on Williamson. But what people don't talk about quite as much is that Hal Foster was a big influence on Williamson. And from Foster, what he took was inking. Foster was brilliant at capturing textures, and he was particularly good on animal fur and pelts. Take a close look at how he rendered these horses. Look at the line work. He used a great many different types of line to capture the texture of those horse furs, if you can call them fur on a horse. Now let's take a second look at how Williamson handled the inks on the horse. Take a close look at those hind legs, particularly. They really tend to feel like horse legs. The one on the right particularly feels like it's fur being contracted when the leg bends. Now let's take a look at how Raymond handled horses with his ink. Take a look at this overall panel. It's absolutely beautiful, really beautiful brushwork here. But look at the rocks, look at the horse, look at the shirt that Flash is wearing. I should have said this is a panel from a Flash Gordon page. It's all pretty much the same type of line work, and there's not a great deal of sensitivity towards the texture. Here we have a page from Raymond's Rip Kirby series, which is about 20 years further ahead in Raymond's career. Very different handling on the rendering of the horses, but you can tell he is not going after texture here. It's very much the same type of line work on the horses as it is elsewhere on the drawings. Now let's take a real quick look at Neal Adams and how he handled horses. The reason I chose Neal Adams in particular is because he got indirect influence from Raymond. Beautiful line work, but again, the same line which is used to render Conan's flesh is used to render the horse. Not a great deal of sensitivity towards the textures. Okay, before we close the chapter on this very esoteric talk about inking, let's see just how directly Williamson studied Foster's inking. This is an excerpt from a larger page, a single panel, and I don't know the date or the story, but take a look at how the water and the rocks are handled here. And now take a look at how Foster did the same thing about, I'd say 20 years earlier on a Prince Valiant panel. You could call this a swipe, but I think it's just Williamson learning how to use a brush, how to use it very effectively in different textures and for different results. Very impressive manner of how the inks are used to create an environment. So there you go. Really hoping that seeing this page through my eyes helps give you a little bit more appreciation for what goes into making a page. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.